Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at telematics. Now, I know what you might be thinking, little black box, GPS dots on a map, standard stuff, right?
Right. Most people think they know telematics, a tracking device.
Exactly. But the sources we've looked at suggest there's this quiet revolution happening. It's pushing way beyond just location tracking.
It really is. We're talking about a truly integrated approach, something that aims to turn that monitoring into, well, actionable strategic intelligence.
So not just an evolution of the tracker itself.
No, not at all. The key idea in these sources is telematics built as a complete ecosystem. It's designed to be a functional, unified part of the company's main operating system, the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning System.
Okay, ERP. That term is popping up as crucial here. As for anyone listening who isn't deep in enterprise software, maybe unpack that distinction a bit. Why is the ERP link so important?
Sure. Think of the ERP as the central nervous system of the business. It handles everything: core finance, inventory, supply chain planning, and fleet management.
Right.
Traditionally, telematics was, bolted on, an accessory outside the main brain.
Add-on.
Exactly. What we're discussing today is pulling it inside, making it a fundamental pillar of the ERP.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. How does that deep, unified integration actually change things on the ground? How does linking a truck's movement directly into the company's core system turn raw tracking data into strategic fuel for you, the fleet manager?
Well, it starts by tackling a really common problem: data silos.
Ah, the classic issue.
Precisely. In the, let's say, classic model, which is still very common out there, these systems are just isolated blocks. Your fleet management software knows which driver has which truck for which job, and your separate GPS system knows where the truck is. But connecting those two, matching the why, the mission, with the where, the GPS track.
It's usually manual, right? Someone has to piece it together later. Spreadsheets.
Exactly. It's often a manual, time-consuming administrative headache. Think Monday morning reconciliation nightmares.
Oh, I think anyone who's managed drivers feels that pain.
Yeah.
So this integrated approach, how does it bridge that gap automatically?
It's built differently from the ground up. The sources describe the telematics module as essentially making one body with the main fleet management platform within the ERP.
Okay, making one body. What does that mean practically? How does that linkage actually happen?
It leverages the information that's already in the ERP system. So every single trip recorded by the GPS, every movement, every transfer, it's automatically linked to the existing file for that mission or that work order or that delivery dossier. It's already stored right there in the platform.
So an example.
Okay, say vehicle 12 leaves the depot at 8 a.m. The system instantly knows, because it's linked to the work order already scheduled in the ERP, that this specific journey is mission B.
Ah, the delivery to customer X.
Exactly. It knows the context. No human needs to go in later and manually match that GPS track to that specific job. It just happens.
And that sounds like the real payoff. If the system immediately understands the why behind the movement, the context, then the data stops being just passive dots on a screen. It becomes dynamic, doesn't it? It's contextualized information feeding that bigger operational picture.
That's precisely the point the sources make. The data stops being just points on a map. It becomes living data that dialogues among itself, as one source put it.
I like that phrase, living data.
It gives managers a clear, almost panoramic and immediate view of what the fleet is really doing and how that activity ties back to the actual business objectives. It speeds up the whole decision cycle.
Okay, so that dynamic context is key. If the system knows the why, what other practical performance data is it gathering that, your standard 10 standalone GPS tracker might miss? This must go beyond just location.
Oh, absolutely. The focus really shifts towards optimizing two critical areas: maintenance and, crucially, cost control.
Let's start with maintenance. How does integration change that?
Well, think about traditional preventive maintenance. It's often just time-based, like every 6 months, or maybe mileage-based, every 10,000 miles, say.
Right, fairly standard.
But those are pretty blunt instruments, aren't they? A truck idling for hours technically adds time, but maybe not much wear. Another truck doing heavy hauling might need attention sooner than the mileage suggests.
So the integrated system gets more granular? You mentioned mileage is sent up, in real time?
Yes, but it's more than just mileage. Because it's tied into the ERP and potentially the vehicle's own systems, it can pull in real-time operational data. Things like engine hours, maybe harsh braking events, how long the engine spent at high RPMs.
Ah, so actual usage pattern.
Exactly. True usage and wear. This allows you to anticipate preventive maintenance much more accurately based on how the vehicle is actually being used, not just a date on a calendar or an odometer reading.
And the benefit there is less unexpected downtime.
Precisely. Fewer breakdowns on the road. That means much better vehicle availability, more uptime. And more uptime directly translates to better operational reliability and, frankly, more revenue potential. You service the vehicle when it needs it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, the second lever you mentioned, cost control, especially fuel. That's always the big one, isn't it? A notorious headache for fleet managers.
It's often the biggest line item and the hardest to pin down accurately. In traditional setups, fuel reporting often relies on, well, estimates based on mileage, or drivers submitting fuel card receipts, or even manual logs.
Which opens the door to inaccuracies
Huh.
or worse.
Yes. Two huge risks. First, you're making decisions based on potentially unreliable data. Second, it creates opportunities for, let's be frank, fraud. Things like fill siphoning or submitting inaccurate receipts.
So how does the integrated system tackle that?
It aims to cut through the noise by linking the telematics deeply, potentially right into the vehicle's engine control unit or CAN bus.
Okay.
The system can pull real, raw fuel consumption data, not estimates, not averages, not self-reported numbers. We're talking reliable, verifiable data points coming directly from the vehicle.
How reliable are we talking? Is this real fuel data accurate enough to, say, start making tough calls about vehicle efficiency or driver habits?
The sources suggest yes, absolutely. When you have that raw, verified data, you can finally move beyond guesswork and achieve genuine mastery over your real cost per kilometer for every single vehicle, every single mission.
And that unlocks more strategic thinking.
Definitely. Imagine being able to do automated A/B testing on different routes in real time across parts of your fleet.
Okay.
The system could immediately show you if Route A is consistently, say, 5% more fuel efficient than Route B for a certain type of truck carrying a specific load weight. That kind of insight shifts fuel management from just reporting what was spent to actively optimizing future spending.
That really is the difference between looking backward and actively shaping what happens next. But stepping back a bit, this sounds like a pretty significant shift.
Yeah.
Moving from a simple add-on box to something deeply embedded in the core ERP.
It is.
That must involve some hurdles, right?
Yeah.
Initial cost,
Yeah.
implementation complexity, maybe even pushback from drivers about more data being collected. Do the sources talk about those initial challenges?
That's a fair and necessary question. And yes, the sources do acknowledge that this level of deep integration isn't trivial. It's not like just plugging in a new GPS unit.
Right.
It requires a significant upfront investment, both in terms of cost and organizational commitment to manage the change. However, the way the analysis frames it is important.
How so?
They position the cost not just as an expense, but as an investment in a strategic asset. Why? Because it directly tackles those massive hidden costs of the older siloed systems.
You mean the cost of all that manual reconciliation we talked about?
Exactly. That plus the cost of making decisions based on unreliable data and the very real costs of unplanned downtime or things like fuel fraud.
So the ROI comes from efficiency gains and risk reduction.
That's the argument. The operational efficiencies, the reduction in administrative burden, the mitigation of risks like fuel theft over time, these savings, particularly the admin cost reduction from the unified data structure, are presented as justifying that initial investment.
Okay, let's assume a fleet gets through that transition successfully. What does the output look like day to day? You mentioned this new intelligence, but presumably all the classic telematics functions are still there.
Oh, absolutely. The foundational features are still table stakes. You still get your real-time vehicle tracking on a map. You
Right.
still get speed monitoring, custom alerts for things like route deviations or excessive idling, geofencing capabilities. All that standard functionality is expected. Daily activity reports per vehicle, too. Those are the basics now.
Right, the hygiene factors, as they're sometimes called. But the real step up, the strategic part, comes from how this newly linked contextualized data is then synthesized and presented back to the user.
Exactly. It's about the intelligence layered on top.
Right.
What do the reports look like? How do they turn raw data into something you can actually make decisions with easily?
So what are some key examples of these intelligent reports?
The sources highlight a couple. One is the monthly mileage matrix. This isn't just a single number for total miles driven. It's a detailed grid. It shows distance traveled day by day, vehicle by vehicle. But crucially, it's cross-referenced with the type of mission assigned from the ERP data.
Ah, so context again.
Right.
Why is that cross-referencing so vital?
Because it immediately flags anomalies.
Yeah.
Imagine seeing a truck that's supposed to be doing local short hop deliveries suddenly clocking up 1,500 miles on highways over a couple of days.
Right, that would stand out.
Instantly, without digging. It helps you spot potential vehicle misuse, ensures your billing is accurate based on actual usage, or maybe adjusts your maintenance schedule because that vehicle clearly underwent different wear and tear than expected.
So it's the systematic way it's presented that provides the oversight. You see the outlier without having to manually hunt through log files for weeks.
Precisely. And then, complementing that detailed view, there's often an annual report. This aims to be a comprehensive, single-glance summary.
Of everything.
Pretty much the whole fleet's health and utilization profile. It pulls together the trajectory data, the mission linkage, the maintenance history, the real fuel consumption, figures all into one unified, often auditable summary document.
So if we were to kind of boil this whole transformation down for someone listening, we're essentially moving away from just a basic GPS unit that tells you where your truck is,
Right.
to an integrated analysis platform that automatically tells you why it was there, how much that specific trip really costs in fuel, and when it genuinely needs its next service based on actual use.
Right.
And it's all linked back to your core business plan in the ERP.
That really captures the essence of it. That's the ultimate conclusion these sources point towards. This advanced form of telematics isn't viewed as just another piece of software you buy.
It's fundamental.
It's conceptualized as a structural pillar supporting the entire fleet management operation within the ERP. It changes the focus from just, tracking assets on a map to achieving this kind of global connected view of operations. Yes, connecting the field activity directly to the overall strategy. We're moving beyond mere functionality towards total fleet intelligence.
That phrase again, total fleet intelligence, it really captures that shift.
Absolutely. And the core reason, the distinction we've kept coming back to, is that the data stops being isolated points. It becomes contextualized, unified. And that unification is what unlocks genuine strategic insight.
It makes sense. The integration is the enabler.
It really is. And this raises a broader question, maybe a final thought for you listening, that goes way beyond just truck fleets.
Okay.
If you thought telematics was just about maps and alerts, hopefully we've shown how deep data integration can change that whole management game. But think about your own organization. What other business functions are currently operating in silos?
Like inventory maybe, or field sales reporting, HR data.
Could be any of those. Inventory control, HR, sales activities, customer service logs. Ask yourself, could those areas benefit from being truly deeply integrated into your core ERP system? Could that turn simple monitoring in those areas into real strategic performance data? It's something worth mulling over as you think about your own organization's journey towards, unified data mastery.